as I've mentioned, big Love Island fan over here. Prefer UK to US, but the new season of US started tonight. And
this is what we're starting the show with.
Well, it's relevant to the song this week.
Okay.
This guy is like talking about one of the girls he just met.
I picked a flower and I named it.
This is the US now. There's one British girl on there though. And he goes, she definitely deserves a flower. I'm going to go see what I can do. I might grow one for her. Girl, you deserve some photosynthesis in your life. And I'm like, what does that mean? That's like the worst pickup line.
Well, photosynthesis is the process by
yes,
which
I know what photosynthesis is. I'm just like, what is this terrible pickup line?
Hey, girl, I'm smart. I know words like photosynthesis.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sadie Hawkins Pod.
Hello. Welcome back to the Love Island.
Let me tell you, Peacock did not do some great casting this year.
Is the British one still going right now as well?
Yeah.
Because you've been watching the British one.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be watching them both side by side.
Right. I watched the British one in the morning when, well, time zones. So I watched the British one usually in the morning, like right after I get up while I'm sort of getting ready and everything. And then I'll be able to watch the US one live. It's on Peacock instead of CBS and what's their thing? Paramount Plus this year.
Right.
Yeah, they licensed it out to Peacock. I don't know how if it's gonna fare very well over there or not, but
all right. Well, I don't know. I heard you in the next room, and you were like, "This looks so cheap."
Yeah, the U.S. just has had some trouble getting its footing, I think, and yeah.
Well, that's true of the U.S. overall. If anything, Love Island US is a microcosm of America as a whole.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, the same guy was like, he was like in the same little, it's called the beach hut where they do their little like confessional thing. Okay. And he's like, I'm like Christopher Columbus. He's like, I want to discover some new worlds or something. And I was like, whoa, this guy.
I'm like Christopher Columbus. I want to direct a couple Home Alone and Harry Potter movies.
Exactly.
I want to direct the worst Harry Potter movies. Well, we don't have any voicemails this week. But what we do have in terms of like top of the show Relient K related business is this Facebook thing that occurred where someone on the I Hate 5 Iron Frenzy Facebook group, which, you know, is an ironic name because it's 5 Iron Frenzy's official Facebook group.
Right. Somebody
posted a screen cap of, and I didn't even see this, and I didn't comment or like it. I'm like, yes, this is true. So this person named Jeannie on the I Hate 5 Iron Frenzy Facebook group posted this picture of a tweet from Telety Witchery. Their display name at the time was the Tolkien Queer Friend. And their tweet from July 14th.
The Token Queer Friend or the Tolkien? Okay.
Tolkien.
Cool.
Tea-Light Witchery. Tea-Light Witchery. Okay.
All right.
That's the...
I don't know about this witchcraft business. This is going back to Harry Potter, but okay.
Right. So they tweeted, were you even a queer church kid if you weren't obsessed with Relient K? And this is a recent tweet. And, like, we've been part of this discourse over and over. So when I saw this, I was like, it's like, I'm not tired. I like all the queer people who love Relient K. You're welcome. This is your community. We're just guests in it. But I'm like, I've been part of the discourse. I've been out there proving all the stuff we've seen from this podcast and all the LBGT Relient K fan crossover, even before, for years and decades before, you know, Relient K became gay affirming with having Semler on the tour and everything. I'm, aware of this. We discovered it from doing this podcast in 2019. All the LGBT fans of Relient K.
When you said decades, I'm like, you do know we haven't been doing this podcast for decades,
I meant the decades
right,
of Relient K fandom.
Oh, I see.
20 years of YouTube. YouTube hasn't been around for 20 years, but it's been around for over 10 years. Years of Relient K fandom online.
Okay.
So, and the person on the I Hate Fiverr and Frenzy Facebook group posted a picture of this tweet and just wrote, "Really?" Like they weren't aware of this. I'm like,
they're not pulling a Danny. They're not like joking because they see it so often. They're pulling a Danny where you just like to mess with people and you're like you're being sarcastic, but you can't read that over the internet.
Do we talk about that here on the show, that I play a character around the house sometimes of the like aunt who's confused at the concept of homosexuality?
No, we've never talked about that.
We've just told friends about it in real life. So it was okay. So sidebar, it's not a character with a name. I just like it's not like the characters I do around the house that actually have names and stuff that sometimes appear on this show. But I do this like bit where we'll be watching something like a commercial, and then the two women at the end of the commercial like hold each other or kiss or something, because it's like a lesbian couple and they're doing home design in this commercial, and it's an inclusive commercial. And when they kiss, I'll be like, wait, what? I thought they were sisters. I'm not doing it hatefully. I'm just doing it like the character of an aunt who doesn't even understand that homosexuality, LGBT, any of that is even a thing.
And it definitely never gets old.
I'll also do it with like flat out with movies and stuff. When a character's in a movie and we've already been watching it for like an hour, and then all of a sudden I'm confused that one of the characters is gay. I'm like, wait, that's not their brother? I thought that was their friend. I'm confused. So anyway, I don't think that that's what this person on I Hate Fiverr and Frenzy Facebook group was saying. I think they were like, is this real? So from that, completely unrelated to the subject of queer Relient K fans, Walter Andrew Barrows writes underneath it, I worked with Matt T at Wendy's. Really good dude. Not sure why the hate. And then our own Daniel Moraine. Not sure why the hate. I don't really... what hate? I don't know what hate...
Where was the hate coming from?
Yeah, I don't know what hate he's referencing, but okay. So then our own Daniel Moraine replies, and he said, did you really, as in work with him at Wendy's, or are you just referencing the song, as in Wake Up Call? And Walter replies, no, I really did. He was like 2 years ahead of me at Tusky Valley. So he worked at Wendy's until they signed to Goatee and went on tour. The Wendy's in Bolivar, Ohio.
Oh, wow.
So this is like amazing deep cut info.
Whoa.
Daniel replies, nice. Did he actually get fired? And Walter, which sidebar, I guess I didn't think about this at the time we did Wake Up Call. And I didn't even think about this until I saw Daniel ask that. When I think back to listening to the song Wake Up Call, I don't think I assumed he really did get fired for sleeping in all the time. Right. I thought that was all just a metaphor, a made-up thing about sleeping when you're praying.
Sure.
So I didn't actually think he really did get fired. When I first heard that song, I wasn't sure if he really ever did work at Wendy's, but then that was confirmed in that interview that we come across all the time, where they also talk about the Abercrombie controversy from the time, and they talk about...
Oh, yes, yeah. Right.
Walter replies, no, he just quit because he had a record contract. So apparently Walter claims that Thiessen worked at that Wendy's right up until
That's super
Relient K went on tour.
Oh my gosh.
Which is also similar to like MXPX. Like they just went on tour literally from their high school graduation. Like they had their high school graduation and then they just hopped in their, I guess it wasn't a bus. They hopped in their van or whatever and just hit the road and did a tour. Daniel replied, that's way cooler, but less funny, LOL. Daniel then asks, were you a part of the Makeout Girls? Which I have to say, I don't actually know what that is. I don't know what that is. I should ask Daniel, what is that? Walter replies, I remember being with him on the Sandwich Line, and Seltzer 3 had just come out, and there were a couple Goatee bands on it, and he was excited because maybe one day they could be on a Seltzer album. I'm sure this means something to someone. This is deeper cut stuff that I don't know what this is referencing. Walter then says, I didn't know about the makeup girls, but Kevin Pedden was in my class. That's funny. Maybe this is some Relient K information that we've never come across.
Is this another
that we
band
don't know.
or something?
Yeah, I don't know. Daniel's got a call next week, or I'll ask him to explain. Nice. I was wondering if you knew him. I only know him from their liner notes on their albums. And then Daniel tagged me and says, I wonder if Daniel Joseph Leary has any questions for you. Walter then says, I mean, it was a small high school, 150 people in a graduating class, so you knew just about everyone at least a little.
Sounds pretty big to me.
Yeah, it does. My graduating class was like 10.
Mine was 6.
Then you add in the Christian music scene and the crowd shrinks a little more. Oh, so it wasn't like a Christian school.
No, their high school, didn't they go to like a public high school or something?
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay.
Maybe. And maybe Matt Hoops or somebody else went to Catholic school or something. I don't know. It's in a song.
Right. He went to Marilyn Manson's school.
Right.
Then you add in the Christian music scene and the crowd shrinks a little more. They used to do church basement concerts, which I know because they came through Boston and did those kind of things while still in high school. I hooked my youth pastor up with a Friday night basement concert with Relient K one time. That was pretty cool. About a year or so before they signed. Daniel says, nice. That's about the size of my high school graduating class. Sounds like you attended different churches and youth groups then? Walter said, yeah. We had an after-school Bible study at the school. It was a club or something. A teacher let us use her room, the history teacher. Turns out she's a huge lefty. Okay. She's friends with me now.
Where's this going?
And like lots of posts and shares. She has graded papers while we did our thing. Wow, can you believe that like someone who's like left would like be cool and maybe not necessarily Christian would be fine with your religious freedoms as long as they're not imposing it on other people? Who would have believed that? Did I come out correctly? I was being sarcastic in a way of like, we're not as divided as
if
we all
you're
act
listening
like we
to
are.
this show still, I would imagine the listeners can pick up on your sarcasm. I hope, maybe not all the time. Sometimes I do think you're a little too dank, dry. I don't know, but
irony, for those who don't remember, is when you say it was when the meaning of something that you say is opposite of the words you said. So a lot of the times I'll literally just say something and I mean the opposite. Then don't put any sarcasm in my voice at all. And Jessica knows what I mean, but I'm sure our listeners don't. I also went to my...
It definitely does not hurt and make it so that sometimes you don't make friends.
Who needs friends? I've seen that sitcom. They all look like a bunch of jerks. They barely have jobs that would afford them that apartment in New York. It doesn't make any sense.
Danny is a very loving, open-minded person. I'll just throw that out in case you can't read him.
We're almost done. Walter then said, I also went to my church's youth group, which had maybe like 5 people, and my buddies, which was like a dozen or so. I lived in the country, so I had nothing else to do, I guess. Then Daniel said, is it true that people say in Canton you can't enjoy yourself? Walter says, the joke is because of how people say Canton. It wasn't Canton, it was Canton. But the T is like not done properly. It's hard to describe. I think you described it pretty
Canton?
well. Canton, yeah.
Canton.
I don't say Canton, but I think there's a Canton, Massachusetts as well. So, like, I knew it.
Yes, there is. You can take the exit for it in Boston.
Right.
If you watch our video.
Oh, right.
You can see there's the Boston exit, and then there's one for the road to Canton.
Walter continues, Canton's not great, but it was the nearest real city to Tuscarawas County. It's got the Football Hall of Fame. It was just a very industrial town where they closing all the factories down. Lots of steel mills, so it's a rough go of the last 30 years. Walter says, I think he mentioned, because he says in a separate comment, I think he mentions the Dollar Theater in that song. It's now a brewery, so that's cool, which it's not. He replies and says, yeah, Movies 4 was a dollar theater. Oh, no, yeah. Movies 4 is a dollar theater. It's a brewery now, I think. Must have been replying to a second comment that I missed.
Well, that sounds cool.
Then he says, never mind. The dollar theater was in the corner, and he includes a map here. There's a brewery beside where it was.
Well, it's still very cool.
Then I asked, did you know or do you know Todd Frescone, the drummer credited on All Work and No Play? I'm not asking you to dox him if he lives a private life, but so little is known about him, sometimes I question if it was even a real name, and I'm just extrapolating on what I was explaining, or like a name they just threw on there because they wanted to seem like they actually had a drummer. Did he go to your school? Was he even really in the band, or did he just work on that demo with them? Walter replies, from what I remember, I think he went to Sandy Valley, which was a neighboring school. I think he was a little older than the other guys in the band, and he must not have known if he was officially in the band, or if he was just on the record. Daniel replies, that's funny. I grew up, because now we're kind of like leapfrogging conversations. I grew up where there was a town nearby called Canton that was super tiny and had nothing going on, so that line was appropriate, but I'd never heard anyone say it before. Now for the $1 million question. Do you know who Dan Bacchitis is? Walter replies, yeah, I never heard it till that song. I just know, he never heard the Canton joke until that song. I just know my sister moved to Canton, and there was a joke about it that everyone said. Your tongue never hits the roof of your mouth in the NT part of the word. Then he says, I think Dan Bacchitis is made up, but I honestly have no idea. They went to church together in Canton, which is how they knew their first producer. He says, I forgot his name, which was Mark Lee Townsend. He was the guitarist of DC Talk. So they made All Work and No Play, and then that guy gave it to Toby and the Bud and on the bus during a tour, and that's how they got signed. Well, yeah, we knew that. Then I asked, do you know who Chris mentioned in For the Band is? And do you know if he had pink hair or green hair? And Walter says, I don't know who that is. And then Walter replies one more time. He says, I always assumed Dan because it was just a made-up thing, especially since our school never had a Sadie Hawkins dance. Plus, Matt was well-liked, so he never got beat up by a quarterback.
Makes sense.
I definitely never thought that the lyrics of Sadie Hawkins' dance were literal. Yeah. I always just thought that was just a story that's kind of made up. But I would have maybe thought that their school would have had a Sadie Hawkins dance. I'm not
Why is this podcast just named after a lie?
Yeah, I'm not like surprised they didn't, because it's obviously just like a fun sort of like, I mean, we're not doing the Sadie Hawkins dance episode right now, but this is information we'll have eventually when we do that. A Sadie Hawkins dance is like a tropey thing. It's a thing that brings to mind like teen movies, like nice, clean, fun, like something as open and nice and fun as a dance. Wholesome brings to mind like the sock hop, but not in like the dirty grease way, but in like the nice fun
right
like
poodle skirt
way. Yeah,
right.
So, but to find out that they never did have a Sadie Hawkins dance, that is shocking. Somebody call up one of those CCM magazines and it'll be a headline: Matt Thiessen never had a Sadie Hawkins dance. We're going to rip apart the band with this information. Thank you, Walter, and thank you, Daniel, for catching me onto that conversation. So, hold for plane. Just some movie talk and some movie business talk. Hold for plane. Sit here and sip my drink. Okay, so we're talking about Flower.
We are.
From Air for Free.
That's right.
And one thing that we'll talk about later, but part of the reason we picked this song this week is because our listener and Patreon member, Sam Henson, was recently in Los Angeles, and we went to see her perform at the Viper Room.
That's right. That is 100% of the reason why we picked this song, because I was thinking it, and then Danny turned to me after her performance and was like, oh, so are we doing Flower this week? And I said, yep.
So what happened was I saw she was going to play the Viper Room, and we've always wanted to go to the Viper Room. Turns out they're tearing down the Viper Room in the next year.
Such a bummer.
And we'd never been to it.
Not for lack of like trying or
but they never have anything very good.
Yeah.
They do emo night, which I've always wanted to do emo night, but the Los Angeles emo night is like $40 or $50. And I'm like, I don't want to just go and sit around at it I don't want to pay.
Because it's all
concert.
DJ sets. And the thing is, that's the thing about the Viper Room is that now they do a lot of like DJ sets and cover bands and stuff. So it's like we hadn't had, right. So we hadn't had a reason to go yet because we would check the schedule and be like, there's nothing like that.
Like the Whiskey gets everything cool.
Right.
And the Roxy.
Yeah.
But the Viper Room doesn't. And the Viper Room turns out it's very small. Well, Sam was playing there, and she's even playing in the smaller room, like the sort of speakeasy room. Yeah, downstairs. And she put us on the list. That was awesome. So we finally got to see the Viper Room. DMing with her before we went to see her performance, she was like, oh, this is great. I've got a Relient K song picked that I'm going to cover when you guys are here. And she's like, oh, let me see if you've talked about it on the show. And she's like, no, you haven't. Perfect. And I'm like, oh, great. Well, whatever you do, we'll probably do it as the episode this week. I said that, and I'm like, well, hopefully she doesn't do Sadie Hawkins dance, because I feel like we're doing that closer to the end. But
I don't know if that quite goes with her sort of theme. What am I looking for?
Aesthetic.
Yes, thank you.
So we'll hear her cover later during the cover section.
Not that she couldn't do a cool slowed down version of Sadie Hawkins dance, because I would like to hear that. But yeah, I took a video of her performance of Flower, and we'll play that later.
Yes. So we're talking about Flower. This is a song that, like, I definitely know that opening hook. Like, I feel like that's a hook right off the top. I picked a flower. It's like right off the bat, you got a hook. So I definitely know that hook. But this is still not, like, after that opening couple of seconds, I definitely zone out with this song. And I never have absorbed this song in its entirety until this week.
I really, really love this song. I love the production, and I think this is one of the most underrated songs on this album. You got those Beach Boys-y harmonies. It's very Forgetting Not Slow Down. I could 100% see this as the outro to the Savannah Suite instead of Baby. And I wonder if they aren't, like, because I think we came across some stuff about how Baby was supposed to be part of some song that he was going to write for the wedding or something. And I question if this is not also part of that. And that's something that Sam and I actually talked about a little bit the other night was that she was also saying that she felt like this was like totally a Forget Not Slow Down, like, sort of song. And I absolutely agree that it definitely has that vibe.
Right. Like, it's not part of the narrative for the album that we know, that we like how we know how Forget Not Slow Down is mythologized with this breakup of a canceled engagement and everything, and then he goes to the cabin, the whole story, the whole spiel that we all know. Air for Free doesn't have that kind of mythology behind it, you know, outside of what's contained within the album itself, but it is like a fact that he was in one particular, it's more or less a fact that he was in one particular relationship. And, you know, Josh McTerrigan has talked to us about this, maybe on crossover episodes we've done with Reliable J, but definitely in private conversations, talking about how, like, you know, Mountaintop is like a very specific story about a day that he had with his girlfriend of the time of Air for Free. So, like, is Air for Free and a song like Flower very much about, could these things be basically about the woman he was with at this time, who he's no longer with? And so is this almost like a Forget Not Slow Down? Is this like this album doesn't have that mythology around it, but is this almost kind of like a somber thing of like, I'm in this relationship now and I hope it lasts, and then we kind of know in foresight and real life knowledge that it didn't last. But it's kind of like this bittersweet thing of like, I'm in a relationship and I've been hurt before and I want to give my whole heart, like here in this song Flower, but then things wither away and blah blah blah. Is it this almost like a, like, sort of trying to recover, like the way Collapsible Lung and some of the lungy theories around it of like how it's like it's a guy who's chasing skirts off of Forget Not Slow Down, which is not what we think of the album overall, but it is what like a bunch of fans have said, that it's like a story about Matt Thiessen or the narrator
Right.
trying to chase vapid relationships to recover from the pain of forget and not slow down. I don't think that about that. But now I'm thinking, like, is Air for Free like the actual, like, sort of mature version of that, of like kind of getting back out there post Forget and Not Slow Down, 6-7 years after that album, but whatever, it takes time, and music and writing doesn't have to be contemporaneous to everything you're thinking right then and feeling right then, even though Matt Thiessen is known for doing that. Is like Air for Free and a song like Flower about like the cautious sort of like getting your heart back out there and letting yourself be vulnerable post the pain of Forget and Not Slow Down. I'm just throwing out questions, not maybe. Necessarily answers.
Right, yeah, because, I mean, we don't know when he wrote this song or worked on this song. It feels like probably before he met his would-be wife, because they got married in, like, I think 2015. So
right.
This album came out 2016, so you would imagine during like the bulk of writing, recording this, they would be married.
Right. I completely forgot that we were talking about Emily. Like, I'm just trying to, because I was like, wait, who is the relationship he was in during Air for Free? When you said they were married, I'm like, of course they were married. He was married to Emily at the time when this album would have been written and released.
It feels like this is probably before then. That's why I think, it definitely could still be like a leftover something worked on from post Forget and Not Slow Down days.
Right.
I really love the message of Bridge A. I think about everything else, and I know that I must love myself till anyone other than me can look and see what I see and sense where the harmony dwells. Do you hear wedding bells? And I like that because that's that whole, like, you have to love yourself for somebody else to, really love you, or for you to find that right kind of love, which, I mean, I look at that statement and I both agree and disagree with it, but I think that it's definitely like, yes, you need to know and find your value, in order to be in a healthy relationship where you know how you should be treated and how you should treat others.
I feel like we definitely talked about with some classic era Relient K, like and first 3 albums and 5 Score, how there's this early example of sort of romantic Thiessen singing about a girl who is so much better than him and she's so much better than me, which is like, a very common thing in sort of romantic poetry to say, like, my muse is so much better than me. And it's like, sure, that's okay, but there are some examples of Relient K lyrics in those first 5 albums that I was like, sometimes this gets taken too far. Sometimes he puts the girl in some of those classic Relient K first 5 album songs too much on a pedestal and flagellates himself too much in relationship to her that doesn't seem healthy, right? So it's like, if you think you're such scum and she shouldn't love you, then it's like you're challenging her not to love you, which is sort of the basis of that you have to love yourself to be loved. It's not necessarily saying like you have to have absolute confidence and absolutely think you're the best and greatest thing ever. It simply means to love yourself is to not hate yourself. And if you hate yourself and you're you're like purposefully challenging and questioning, why does that person love me? Then it's like every day you're spitting in the face of their love. Like, that person wants to love you, and you're saying to them, no, I'm scum, and I'm worthless, and I'm stupid, and I'm garbage. What the hell is wrong with you for loving me? Well, there's only so much of that your partner can take until they're like, okay, so you don't want me to love you? Like, are you right? Are you correct that you are garbage, and am I wasting my time? Like, here I am giving myself to you, and you're saying that you're not worthy of my love. So it's like, there's a point where that romantic idea of lowering yourself in front of beauty becomes too much. And that also goes hand in hand with the classic Christian pop punk thing and Christian art overall of like telling God and telling Christ, Christ, I'm so worthless. Why do you love me? Because it's like, yeah, there's making yourself penitent and small before the Lord. But when you take that too far and you're just constantly telling God, like, God, I'm scum and I'm worthless, and you're basically saying, like, God, your love of me is stupid, right? And that's awful. Why would you say that to Christ if you believe that he is there to save your soul? But whatever, I got on a whole little tangent there.
Well, to get back on track, do you want to hear my galaxy brain not at all accurate song meaning for this song?
Okay.
Just that I thought up, because I do have some Reddit threads, but I didn't read them. I just saw that they exist and put them on my list. This song is actually about the decline of the band post. They picked a flower for the cover art, and they withered away from the mainstream spotlight afterwards.
Okay. Well, I mean, technically they had their fastest charting album after Not their top selling album, which we said early in the years of the podcast, but Five Score was their fastest charting album. But yeah, I get what you mean. I picked a flower. I mean, if you wanted to take it into the Relient K got signed to a major and therefore they don't love God anymore route, which we also don't believe, but you could say I picked a flower and it withered away. Like, I picked to get signed to Capitol and my faith withered away. If I was that kind of Christian, which I'm not.
I said it was my galaxy brain not at all accurate song meaning. Just, it's one way you could potentially choose to take the song. By the way, you might hear the table's still creaking. I fixed it. Much less.
If I lean on it too heavy, it still creaks.
Yeah.
But
I got down there, I fixed it. I added another pop filter for us, so we'll see how that works.
So musically, we'll get back into all the lyrics, but musically, this definitely feels like some lead up to Matt Thiessen and the Earthquake's Wind Up Bird, right? Like this and Heartache, I realize now, are kind of the most Wind Up Bird-like tracks. So it's funny that, and I agree with you, that this does have more DNA of Savannah and Forget Not Slow Down than even Sleepin' does. Like, Sleepin' technically shares melodic structure with Savannah, but all the times I heard Sleepin' until we did the research for that track, Sleepin' never felt to me like a Forget Not Slow Down song. This does feel like a Forget Not Slow Down song to me, but it also feels like a Wind Up Bird song to me. So I can kind of see how, like, Thiessen might have had a song like this and Heartache ready to go and was like, well, yeah, we're stretching what a Relient K song can be here on Air for Free, and I'm going to do a whole album of this kind of thing next. And maybe a lot of other Wind Up Bird songs, as we've already said over the years, some Wind Up Bird songs were probably songs that could have just been Relient K songs. Like a song like Dude definitely feels like giving, man and God and cat and these one syllable song titles of just like, beings, man and God and cat and dude. Like, they definitely feel like one in a piece. So I feel like Heartache and this song, Flower, are definitely that Venn diagram of why Wind Up Bird kind of connects into Air for Free.
Over on Genius, under credits, it says songs that interpolate Flower, Higher Power by Matt Thiessen and the Earthquakes.
There you go. Okay. Maybe we should do that song soon, too. And also, like, lyrically, this song is, like a lot of Air for Free stuff does, this song has more abstraction and less solid storytelling, or less solid specifically, trying to get a very specific kernel of an idea in your head. Instead, it's more of a tone poem. It's more of a poem overall and more abstract, and more poetic in a way that Relient K never really specifically did, but Thiessen does a lot on Wind Up Bird. So that's another reason why this song, because so let's get into the lyrics overall. I picked a flower and I named her. She withered away. So there's definitely power in just the idea of naming something, right? Like when you name an animal, you're attached to it. You know what I mean? Like that, when you name an animal, you don't want it to be eaten or killed. Like it has power. So having something named has power. And something as, fragile and what's the word for something that doesn't last a long time? Like a picked flower is not meant to last long, but to name it is like, well, you're really playing with fire there because that flower is not going to be around for a very long time, but you've already named it. So you've already like stuck your heart to it, knowing that this is a thing that will not be around for a long time. A heart like a locket, but I'll find a way in. Oh, but beauty has to fade. Oh, I don't know. God, I don't know. Just that I want to love somebody, somebody, somebody. I will never kiss your wonderful lips. I'll never tire of dreaming of it as I drift off to sleep. And so it's like the references to sleep and sort of the like the very dreamy production of this song that makes it more one and a piece to me with Savannah, or more specifically Oasis, and all of the theories we have about the whole Savannah suite, about how that whole thing is like a dream. Oasis is him falling asleep, sad about his breakup. Savannah is him dreaming about being with her again in this place where they felt together and whole and safe. And then Baby is him waking up from that dream. So this whole, like, you know, this is not that structured. It's just a single song, but definitely having those like Savannah and Oasis like movements and production and all of these things happening deep in the sounds in the background, that makes me feel more like, that brings to mind Savannah way more than Sleepin' did. Listening to chimes ringing clear as the morning, I'll set my soul free. I feel my heart sing and my spirit soaring. Was this whole world made for me? Do you hear wedding bells? Do you hear wedding bells? Because I want somebody, somebody, somebody. I will never kiss your wonderful lips. I'll never tire of dreaming of it as I drift off to sleep. Then there's Bridge A that you read. And then there's Bridge B. I picked a flower and I named her. Watch her fade away. A heart like a locket, but I'll find my way in. Which Bridge B is just verse 1 again, more or less. Do you hear wedding bells? Do you hear wedding bells? Because I want somebody, somebody to love. It's like that Queen song, Somebody to Love. I can't sing it. I'm tone deaf. I had something else to say about this. Oh, I think the whole reference to picking a flower and then it withering away, I feel like if that's not a deliberate on purpose reference to Weezer's Butterfly, it's got to be something that he had in the back of his mind.
Oh, interesting.
So the closing, especially, you know, this isn't the closing song, but it feels like a closing song in some ways. And on the vinyl, it's the second to last song.
Yeah.
So Butterfly is the closing track to Pinkerton, and it's this very, very depressing, sad song about him putting a butterfly in a jar, and in the morning it has withered away. Oh. And then his mom tells him, like, you know, you shouldn't put delicate things in jars. It's like a lesson he learns. It's like such a fucking heartbreaking song. But it's almost like Thiessen is probably, if, like I said, if he's deliberately doing it, or if he's not, if he's just sort of like vaguely has it in mind, it's the less depressing version to say I picked a flower, as opposed to taking a butterfly is still a bug, so there is still that somewhat disconnect. It's not, you know, some people might not have the same emotional attachment to a bug that they would to a mammal or a reptile or, you know, something like that, or even a fish, but it's still so sad to sing about a butterfly that withers away. Then you bring it down to a flower, and it's poetic, and it's sad, and it's melancholy, but it's not as depressing that a flower has withered away. So I feel like there is a chance here that that's kind of what he's calling. He's calling to mind, like, with a little bit more of that Relient K optimism and hope. Like, let's have a song that strikes that same emotional chord as Butterfly by Weezer, but make it a flower, so it's not as depressing.
Right, yeah. Because you could even have that same thing where it's like, it's that same imagery. You put something living in a jar and it dies because you didn't poke holes in the top.
Right.
And, you know, you pick a flower, you take it out of the ground, you take it away from its life force.
Right.
And it will wither away. It's still the same sort of idea of stifling something.
Right. And then it's very interesting how for such a just like flowy, artistic song that it opens with like that bass. Like, I don't think of a sort of like a dreamy, floaty, deep production-y song as opening with just like dun, 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 like, and I don't think I've noticed that necessarily until I wore the big headphones of how it opens with a bass line. So that's really, I don't know, I don't know why I just find that unusual, but I do.
Okay. So for the sequencing, this song comes on the regular album, it comes before Marigold. So you put the two Flower songs together.
Right, which makes a lot of sense.
And after Empty House. And then on the vinyl sequencing, it's like you mentioned, the second to last song. It comes after Sleepin' and before Heartache.
Right. So it's interesting to go from this like slow, dreamy, melodic song Flower and then into the poppy, bright, up number of Marigold. Like, that is a very stark but sensible sequence. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you know, and especially Empty House is also kind of like down, but it having that, like, that whole auto-tune thing still kind of keeps it from necessarily feeling like a slow, melodic, down number. But going from this to,
right,
it's just a stark, interesting contrast. But then on the vinyl, to go from this to this, it's like that whole D side of the record is just the kind of like, it's the earthquake side of the Air for Free record. It's like the very dreamy, folky, I can't think of any more verbs. It's just that. So what an interesting D side to the album,
right?
Of being like the more folky, sort of slower number side, and to have this be the second to last song on that sequence. It's shocking how the back half of Air for Free is totally different from the vinyl, where just the couple of songs that get mixed up in the first side of the vinyl, they're almost inconsequential, compared to the back half of the vinyl, which is like totally emotionally reset.
It's interesting that Flower and Marigold are back to back, and that he's sort of talking about, you know, loving himself and stuff like that in Flower, and then you go into Marigold where, so she's the flower in Flower, and he's the weed, the garden variety weed, and she picked him.
Oh.
In Marigold.
That's
really
good.
It's sort of like an interesting coin toss there.
Yeah, and I like that poetically a lot better as like denigrating yourself to her beauty. I like that a lot better than just saying like, you're so great and I'm so bad. Like, that's so much more beautiful when you piece that together.
Like, I'm a marigold, you're you know, you're garden variety weed, and you picked me.
Right. Interesting. You have so much to say about the song this week. I love it.
Do I feel like I don't have enough? But
I feel like you have, like, I don't know if you ever, but you always have great things to say about the songs, but I don't feel like you ever bring to the table like deep theories and like interesting things. Like you know,
just
I know
you're not interesting.
You are interesting. Oh my gosh, you just don't. You know, that was such a great connection. I don't know. I don't feel like. Sometimes when we come up with those, I feel like
time on this album.
Right, okay.
A couple years ago, I like sort of obsessively listened to Air for Free a lot, like over and over again. And I have to, when we do an Air for Free song, I actually have to search through my notes on my phone app to see if I already took notes on the song, because I did back in like 2020. I had taken a lot of different notes. So like there's one thing where it's like, I found a deep dive thing that I put in my Flower notes that we will get to that I didn't come across this time. So that's just one example of, you know, how I'll find different things coming across and then, you know, set them in notes for later. So it's like I have this, and I think you might have, I told you about it at the time, and I think you talked to David Park about it. So back in 2020, I have a Jimmy Eat World comparison review with this song that we'll get to when we get to deep dive stuff.
Okay. Well, do you want to get to deep dive in just a minute?
Sure, let's do it.
Because I feel like I've said everything I have to say about the song. So let's go to our break, and we'll be right back with that Jimmy Eat World thing. Be careful. Be careful that Jimmy doesn't eat the world while we're in our break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. We just want to take a moment to thank you for listening to Sadie Hawkins Pod. Whether you've been listening for a while or this is your first time, we want to hear your thoughts on this episode, your corrections, and your Relient K memories at our voicemail line, which is 402-95-SADIE.
And if talking on the phone isn't your thing, because I know it's not mine, and whose is it really, you can send us an email to sadiehawkinspod@gmail.com, or visit our socials at Instagram and Twitter, which are both at Sadie Hawkins Pod. While there, you can also see the visuals we discuss on the podcast each week.
You can also visit sadiehawkinspod.com for easy access to all these links, as well as to our merch store for shirts, mugs, stickers, and more.
We also want to thank our patrons at patreon.com/sadiehawkinspod, who include Charity, Isaac, James, Kindle, Joshua, Timothy, Daniel, Jay, Eric, Joel, Connor, Michael, Samantha, Jimmy Eat Pod, This Might Be a Podcast, Tucker, and Brady.
Join our Patreon now for 2 monthly bonus episodes, our entire backlog of bonus episodes, which include reviews of the K's for Karaoke songs and chapters of the complex infrastructure known as the Female Mind Book. You'll also get stickers, guitar picks, and a special Patreon exclusive shirt when you've donated a lifetime contribution of $60.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. Where can I sign up again?
At patreon.com/SadieHawkinsPod. If you want to be a patron of the arts, the fine arts, the podcast arts, there's one place to go.
SadieHawkinsPod.com/ oh, wait, no, that's not it. I'm sorry, I panicked. So over on IamTunedUp.com by Ryan G, we have Relient K Air for Free. Well, this is a review that I started having no idea what to expect from the album. What follows will be my thoughts as I listen to Air for Free the first time through. Given that the only permanent members of the band seem to be Matt Thiessen and Matt Hoops at this point, and given that some of our up-and-coming favorite musicians and Cardboard Kids helped out in the making of the record, I'm curious to see where this goes. And then I'm just going to skip forward to... I'll start from here. The title track, Air for Free, has an interesting feel to it, somewhat lackadaisically stating, we can't do anything when there's nothing to do, and then heading in a quirky electronic direction that sounds like it could have been co-written by Adam Young. The quirkiness of the title track is followed up by a straightforward declaration of faith that is honest and anything but cliche in God. I believe the sky was made for me to touch is a line in the chorus could be interpreted as self-centered, but to me a statement that says God's will for humanity is to experience him in creation in a deeply profound way. Mountaintop continues the sense of reverence with some of the most prominent guitar work on the album so far. Flower has a melody progression that puts me in a very similar mood to listening to Jimmy Eat World's Hard to Find. Come to think of it, that's something that Relient K and Jimmy Eat World have in common. These are two groups that share an ability to mix fun with thought-provoking mid-tempo songs. They're very distinct artists to be sure, but Flower brings to mind the comparison the most. Runnin' is the most high-energy song up to this point, and my mind's eye sees the crowd at one of their shows getting pretty active.
The song's called Hard is Hard to Find, right?
Hard to Find. It just says Hard to Find.
Is that the name of the song?
In quotes, yes.
Okay, because they have a song called Heart is Hard to Find. If this is the song they're saying... I picked a flower. Da, 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 da.
Can't compete with the clear eyes of strangers.
Well, this is Jimmy Eat World's most worshipy song. Yeah. This sounds like, welcome, come on in, have a seat. Welcome to our church today. It's great to see you on this Sunday morning. We're going to worship together for the Lord.
Many years since then, stay one in my mind. First step beats
The children are dismissed now to Sunday school. It even sounds like it has a cajon in it.
is hard to find. It's hard to find the heart sometimes.
This is the most modern worship song Jimmy World ever did. Listen to this.
To find it's hard.
It's hilarious. Does Jimmy World's drummer, does he perform behind plexiglass?
So over on Reddit, r/Relient K posted 6 years ago by Ben Kahn. Discussion: Air for Free is the spiritual successor to Forget and Not Slow Down. Forget and Not Slow Down was a breakup album. It followed the termination of Matt's, well, that's quite a way to put that, of Matt's engagement, Tease and Not Hoops, which is a theme that all the songs...
He said we are not married anymore. I am terminating this engagement.
Which is a theme.
I feel like there's Terminator movies where they hide out in cabins, right? So
yeah,
like,
there was a cabin in that most recent one. I
Right.
remember Arnold Schwarzenegger's living there with the
That's
lady
right.
and raising a kid or
That's
something.
right. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the one Terminator who succeeded in his mission, he just like marries a lady. And they live in a cabin, and then he's just driving just to drive.
Which is a which is the theme that all the songs in the album touch.
Sometimes they sit in the cabin at night, and I hear sirens nearby. I hope no one's seriously hurt, and if they're not, I'll take care of it.
Forget and Not Slow Down starts off fast and upbeat. Forget and Not Slow Down, Candlelight. Slows down and takes darker tones for the middle over in Sahara and ends very darkly and
It just
somberly.
takes some time in the middle. They're saying this sounds like the middle?
Air for Free follows a very similar structure in that regard, but thematically is the opposite of Forget and Not Slow Down. It follows Matt's marriage last year, and as with Forget and Not Slow Down, the lyrics reflect that. It is evident that he is in a much better place than he was when Forget and Not Slow Down was written, and is much happier now. Many others will/have written about the lyrics in great detail and the themes they touch on, but you don't have to look far in Air for Free to see contrasting themes with Forget and Not Slow Down. Whilst I feel that Forget and Not Slow Down will always be my favorite Relient K and one of my favorite albums of all time, Air for Free is an incredible album, and it is amazing to see how far Relient K has come. Ramble over. And then there's 13 replies to that. And let's see if that's where Flower pops up. It's a lot of arguing about collapsible lung. Nicely, though, you know, and what is the proper successor? No Flower yet. I don't see anything about it here. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that, and I will move on to the next Reddit thread. This one is specifically about the song, and it says, from Sin Life 5 years ago, discussion, meaning behind Flower. Flower is one of my favorite songs from Air for Free. I was just wondering what you think of my theory that Flower is inspired by the story of Adam in Genesis 2. I picked a flower and I named her, based on Genesis 2:19. Now the Lord God had formed out of the ground all the wild animals and all the birds in the sky. He brought them to the man to see what he would name them, and whatever the man called each living creature was its name. Was this whole world made for me? God prepared the whole world before he created man on day 6. Do you hear wedding bells? Do you hear wedding bells? Because I want to love somebody. Could be based on Genesis 2:18, where God says, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him.
Okay, I obviously was going to go into this post to a skeptic, but they're not convincing me.
Right.
This is tenuous at best.
Right. I will never kiss your wonderful lips. I'll never tire of dreaming of it as I drift off to sleep on the water.
Yeah.
Adam was sleeping when God took a rib from his side and used it to make Eve. Genesis 2:21-22.
I
But
mean,
it
that is
was-
what happened in the Bible.
Up till that point that Adam was alone. This is what I truly think the song is about, but I'm not sure how the locket fits into the narrative, so I
Because
could
it
be
doesn't.
totally wrong. I do think this is a beautiful song either way. Just wanted to find out what other people think.
Wow.
And then Blame Scott responded, I disagree with the religious narrative you have. I think he's just talking about wanting love and to get married. As far as heart like a locket, it's just meaning that her heart is a very hard place to get into.
When I hear Genesis 2, this is what I think of.
Danny is showing me a picture of the Sega Genesis.
The second model of
The second model of the Sega Genesis.
the
That's the
thinner
one I had.
Yeah.
Sin Life responded, I don't disagree. It could simply be about a guy who wants some love. I only thought of this after I heard the line, was this whole world made for me? And after that, I couldn't stop thinking about how much it resembles the journey Adam must have had before Eve. Toaster Slayer responded, that's a really neat thought. He is definitely looking at his love and thinking about how God influenced his path there. Those little touches are great. Silent Ransom said, I'm pretty sure this song was written around the same time as Forgetting Not Slow Down. I don't hear any religious connotations in the song. And then Zach Pledger responded to that, or Pledger. Yes, Matt did confirm it was written in the Forgetting Not Slow Down era.
Oh.
I can see what OP is saying as a possible influence, but since it was written at such a negative, I guess, time, I don't really think it's as positive as a thing as original poster sort of portrays it to be. The song initially feels sad, and I believe Matt said he wasn't ready to realize it when he wrote this song 7 years ago. Matt does a great job, though, of blending religious and other ideas/themes into non-religious songs. Example, This Is the End If You Want It, is just a story of a relationship ending, but below the surface there are some religious undertones, plus Greek mythology, Medusa's character described. Perhaps the most significant religious reference is simply reference back to Sahara, which I'd say is a little more overt. In saying that, I think he has blurred all the lines so well that you can't call any of his songs religious or non-religious. A relationship with the Lord, among other things, is in him, and it simply spills out when he writes, and I think that's exactly how it should be. Sorry for the wall, by the way. I don't know what that means, but yes, that's great. That's
Pink
a great
Floyd's
way to
The
say
Wall?
that. Right.
In February 2017, Ash is doing fine on Twitter said, Flower by Relient K is so Fleet Foxes, I'm screaming.
I don't know what that means.
I guess they think it sounds like the band Fleet Foxes.
Oh, okay.
In
I was thinking, I don't know why, I was thinking it was, what's that, like, cat, not the Thundercats, but it's like that, and they make the fan music videos? I was thinking it was like that. What's the books with the cats, Dan, that we come across?
Oh, the Warrior Cats.
The Warrior Cats. I don't know why I was thinking Fleet Foxes. It sounded like a Warrior Cat thing.
I mean, foxes would, like, attack cats. I'm just looking on Twitter at Relient K and Flower tweets, trying to find out where, if anywhere, Thiessen would have actually said Flower was left over from the Forget and Not Slow Down writing sessions, or at least that time, because I would like a citation. You know what? Like, trust but confirm. Trust but confirm. Like, if that Redditor said that, like, sure, that sounds very likely, but I would like to know if it's true. Yeah.
For when we interview Matt Thiessen. And then I have over here colorslive.com. I don't know anything about this. I just really liked the way they did the flower in this, like, more cartoony look.
Oh yeah, they kind of beveled it a little bit. They kind of made it like rounder, like a false 3D. Interesting. That's fun.
I just thought that was fun. What do you have for us this week, Danny?
Well, there are two covers other than the one that we're going to play by Sam Henson. So here is the first one. And I'm definitely not just typing it into YouTube because I didn't save the links. This is by Kenneth Christian. Oh, it has 666 views.
Yikes! Let's give it 667.
We're gonna save the soul of this cover by Kenneth Christian. Oh, and there are live performances as well, which I should have played it. But we'll just do covers first.
I picked a flower and I named her. She withered away. A heart like a locket, but I'll find a way in. Oh, but beauty has to. Oh, I don't know. God, I don't know. Just sit down and love somebody, 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 somebody. I will never kiss your wonderful lips. I'll never tire of dreaming of it as I drift off to sleep. Listening to chimes ringing clear as the morning.
That's really nice. That's real nice.
It's very pretty.
Yep. Reverb heavy.
You know, this song
It's
could
got a
also be
dare.
about, like, picking a crush or something, you know?
Just a crush in general.
Yeah, like, you know, when you're like, oh, I'm so in love with this person, I totally want to marry them and stuff like that. And then eventually they just kind of wither away.
That makes sense.
I don't know, just something I thought of while I was listening to this and
You pick
looking at the
someone-
Dare poster in the background of
Yeah, there's a-
666's
Kenneth Christian.
bedroom.
There's a Dare flag on the wall. Dare to resist drugs and violence. Rachel comments 4 years ago. Oh, I didn't say when this was, but this is from 5 years ago. Rachel comments on here, pleasantly surprised, wasn't sure how anyone could pull this off, but you did. A different Rachel then says, wow, this is so good. Like, I'm so impressed right now. G says, outstanding voice, man. They should invite you on stage. Did they? We'll never know.
If they write in, we will.
And then there is J.C. Keith's cover. And I don't know if you heard, but J.C. Keith needs you to help vote for them
did
for
hear
an
that.
ambassadorship. So J.C. Keith, he recently hacked Instagram account, and they had to go and start a new Instagram. So if you previously followed J.C. Keith on Instagram, you'll have to go and refollow them because they have a completely different account now. Yeah, that's definitely a scam that I've been getting a lot now because I have so many people, random people that I follow between podcast and my meme accounts. So I get these tweets from randos that I follow and they follow me back. You know,
Are you calling JC Keith randos?
well, they're among the randos. Just like people suddenly, and JC Keith was the first one that it was the first one I saw, and I kind of fell for it a little bit. Where I got a DM from them, it's like, hey, I need your help, and I'm like, you know, that's a very classic way to kick off some spam of a hacked account,
Right.
But at that moment, I was like, it's like it's JC Keith, like. Why would I think this band account of friends of ours would be hacked? I don't know. It didn't occur to me. If it was like a person I'd never talked to from a meme account or the podcast, then I would be extra suspicious. But I thought they were going to be like, hey, can you plug this new song? Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then they're like, I'm in the running for a social media ambassadorship. I need you to vote for me. And I'm like, oh, okay. I get it. I know what's happening here. So here is J.C. Keith's cover of Flower from their entire Air for Free tribute album. So they recorded an entire Air for Free, every song reimagined.
Right.
Oh, and that's another thing is I would love to, Hoops had teased this idea of them doing a second version of Air for Free where each song is reimagined officially. And J.C. Keith ended up calling their tribute album Air for Free Reimagined, kind of calling to mind that empty promise that Hoops kind of like threw out there in the world.
There's still time.
There's still time. They could do it any day. But yeah, I would love to know what a reimagined official Relient K version of Flower would be. especially because Hoops kind of implied that it would be a more rockin' album overall. So I'm very curious to hear what that could have been. Well, here is J.C. Keith's reimagining of the song Flower by Relient K.
A flower and I named her. She withered away. Her heart like a locket, but I'll find a way in. Oh, but beauty has to fade. Lord, don't know. God, I don't know. 'Cause I wanna love somebody, 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 somebody. I will never kiss your wonderful lips. I'll never tire of dreaming of it as I drift off to sleep. Listening to chums.
Well, we could just sit here and listen to the full 4-minute and 45-second version that J.C. Keith did, which is funny, that last cover by Kenneth Christian, was only 2 minutes long. So he apparently did some edits to the song, whereas here J.C. Keith has this full version. So interesting. And it sounds amazing. It sounds really great. Like
that intro, I was like, put it in a Twilight movie.
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad observation. Like it holds up that sort of core idea of the song as it's produced on the album to sort of be dreamy and everything, but it's an entirely different tone that they struck.
Yeah.
So I just want to hear a little bit towards the end to see if they changed anything up at all.
Bells. Do you hear wedding bells? 'Cause I wanna love somebody, 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 somebody. I will never kiss your wonderful lips. I'll never.
So that's an amazing cover. That's really great. Love it.
Yeah.
That's definitely in the higher echelon of the J.C. Keith Air for Free covers, for sure. Well, before we get to Sam's cover, I completely forgot, like I said, that Relient K seems to have mostly just played this in the 2016 Air for Free tour, the Searching for America tour. Let's just hear how they sort of do this. This is from Clifton Park, New York in 2016.
This one's a ballady song. We have 2 more new ones and then 4 more old ones and then the switchfoot. This one's called Flower.
I picked a flower and I named her. She withered away. A heart like a locket, but I'll find a way. Oh, but beauty has to fade. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Said I wanna love somebody, 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 somebody. I will never kiss your wonderful lips. I'll never tire of dreaming of it as I drift off to sleep.
So that's a really good cover. That's probably the best cover we've heard. I mean, maybe it's actually a little lesser than J.C. Keith's, honestly. I would put J.C. Keith's, this Relient K's cover of it, And then Kenneth Christian. Yeah, that's fine. That's pretty good. Actually, I mean, I'm just saying it definitely, I don't know. I mean, this is a YouTube video, obviously. This is uploaded by Rocker Mom, who we've seen a lot of her videos. And we saw her in real life at the Boston show. I don't know. It doesn't have the same magic. Like, I'm sure from there, I would totally be vibing to it. But
I thought you were being facetious.
Did you like this live performance?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's fine. I just like the album is obviously better, which isn't necessarily always a given. Sometimes a song can sound even cooler or better live, and to me, it's just not feeling elevated in any way.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Fair.
Sorry.
That's fair.
So then the last thing we have is Sam's cover, which was performed and paid tribute directly to us at the show.
Yeah, it was really nice. She shouted us out.
Jessica's airdropping the video to me because it was filmed on Jessica's camera. We should have done this earlier. So now I'm waiting for the airdrop. I accepted the airdrop, but it's a pretty big video. It's going. Okay, there it is. Okay, I was trying to vamp. So I guess we'll just... How long is this? Let's see.
3 minutes, 37 seconds.
I say we just play the whole thing.
Let's do
this is coming in as a relatively shorter Sadie Hawkins pod episode, so we might as well just play the whole thing.
Relatively.
This is the tuning song. The song's called Fire. I picked a fire and she withered away. A heart like a locket, but I'll find my end. But beauty has to fade. Oh, I don't know. God, I don't know. But I wanna love somebody. I'll never kiss your wonderful lips. Never tired of dreaming of it as I drift off to sleep. As I drift off to sleep. I'll never kiss your wonderful lips. Never tired of dreaming of it as I drift off to sleep. Sleep on the water. Think about everything else. Know that I must love myself to anyone other than me. Can look and then see what I see. Sense where the harmony dwells. Harmony. Never kiss your wonderful lips. Never tired dreaming of it as I drift off to sleep. I'll never kiss your wonderful lips. Never tired of dreaming of it as I drift off to sleep on the water.
Good
So
stuff.
Good stuff.
I love
So,
it.
yeah.
I love all of Sam's stuff. That's Samantha Henson, and you can check her out on Spotify and all the
Right.
socials and all
Sam
that.
writes songs.
Yeah.
So thank you. We didn't catch where she said the song was, what do you call it? Not tribute. What's the word? Why can't I think of words?
I don't know, but it's because
Dedication.
Yeah,
She dedicated the song to us.
my phone had the flashlight thing going when I first started recording. I was like, "Damn it!" And so I had to stop, turn it off, and then when I started recording again, I had missed it. So
We got name dropped at the Viper Room, and we didn't catch
that's
it.
pretty badass.
That was our only moment of fame that we'll ever experience. But that was amazing, Sam. We love it. And she kind of did something that among all the other covers, this is clearly, is this like a torch song? Does this count as a torch song? Because something about Sam's vocal presentation makes it sound much more longing.
Yeah.
Then obviously it's a longing song, but I think it's it's very wistful in its original presentation by Relient K, but Sam actually makes it much more longing. When she sings I'll Never Kiss Your Wonderful Lips, it sounds like she's actually horribly pained the way she performed
in
it.
a good way.
In a good way. Whereas when Thiessen sings it, and of course there are a number of longing songs by Relient K, but I don't really think of the longing as particularly painful. Like when Thiessen sings I'll Never Kiss Your Wonderful Lips, he's like, it feels more like a whereas Sam's performance sound more like a
I get what you're saying.
yeah. So that's Flower by the band Relient K. And so I would definitely, I put Sam's cover first, J.C. Keith's number 2, Relient K's cover of Flower as number 3, and Christian's as number 4. Sorry to Christian. But, that's 666 views on your... You gotta watch out for that. You think YouTube wouldn't allow that? Like the 13th floor in a hotel. You think when something reaches 666 views...
They just give you the extra,
They just, they either keep it on 65
Right.
until you get to 67, or they just boost you right up to 67. Oh, well. Well, anything else? Any closing words? So Jessica, how do you feel about the song Flower by Relient K? Do you like it the same, more, or
I
less?
thought you were going to ask me for closing views and then you were going to do that. But sure, yeah. I love it even more.
I would say I like it about this, maybe the same.
Okay.
The same towards more.
Okay.
I definitely have only really absorbed the song this week, really actually given it a full due. Like I said, I definitely knew that one melodic structure, the section that I Will Never Kiss Your Wonderful Lips, but the rest of it I never committed to memory. So now I have. So yeah, I guess technically I like it more, even though I'm still kind of not sure if it's a song I'll always think of when I think of Relient K. It's not a song I'll jump to every time, but yeah, I'll say a tentative more this week. So any closing thoughts? Any closing thoughts on Flowers overall?
Oh, what's your favorite kind of flower, Dan?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if I know enough about flowers. I don't know.
Fair.
Marigolds? Didn't we talk about in Marigold, though, that the whole thing about marigolds being weeds was a little bit of a stretch?
Yes.
On
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Oh, and we forgot to talk about our new vase with our flowers over there because it's not sitting directly on the table anymore.
We went to anthropology.
Yeah, indeed.
And they had a cool vase. So we put flowers in it. Now we're just petering out. We could have just ended it with our normal thing, but I was like, come on, we got to end on a bang. We got to end on something cool. So Patreon episodes and, go to patreon.com/Sadie Hawkins Pod to hear more of this. When we just kind of hang out and ramble, that's what the Patreon's like, $5 and $10 tiers. Head on over and you can get more of what's happening right now.